Hi everybody, Jonathan Reeves here with Designing with Vectorworks and Enscape. Now, as you know, I'm a huge Vectorworks fan. I've been using it my whole career as an architect, and I'm really getting excited about the possibilities of using Enscape with Vectorworks recently. So let's have a look at how this can work to enhance your designs. Now, just before we get started, I just thought I'd spin around the model I'm working on. It's for a new little eco home on a really big sort of a site with some equestrian facilities and not a lot of context around it, to be honest. A big open flat site. Now you can see the Vectorworks model here. Quite a nice little model, just rendered in OpenGL at the moment, and basically it's just divided up into some simple layers using the design layers to control the different floors and also things like the site as well. Now if I did want to, I could strip it right back to the ground floor. Let's just do that, and we'll just turn off the context around the building as well. So all I've got here is my ground floor of my project just for now. What we'll do then, let's get stuck into Enscape. All we need to do is go down to our Enscape palette, which is going to be on the visualization tool palette. You can see it here, it sits here. Now if you haven't already installed Enscape, you're going to want to go and do that. So go up to Tools, go down to Third Party, Enscape, and then you simply add it to the workspace that you're using. I've got my own customized workspace in Vectorworks that I use, but basically we'll add it to that workspace for you, and then you'll get all the tool sets where it just appears in its own little tool section. So it's very straightforward, really easy to add, and then when you're ready you can view those as icons or icons and text as well. Nice little tip. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll get ready, we'll start Enscape, so click onto Enscape Renderer, go up to the mode bar, and there's only two buttons here. You literally click Start Enscape to actually launch the Enscape software. So it's kind of like it sits side by side, almost like it's part of Vectorworks really, and that's the beauty of Enscape really, when you're using it with Vectorworks. So here we go, it's just loaded in now. You can see the model appears already looking fantastic actually. And now we can kind of do a bit of basic navigation. So what I'd recommend is you learn how to navigate your model by popping open the help system, and it's really traditional sort of gaming keys, things like the WASD keys, E for up, Q for down, spacebar to walk and fly, for example, and then if you left click you'll rotate or orbit, right click will orbit rather, and if you hold the spacebar down you can sort of pan around. So that's cool. I like the fact you can sort of double click on points into the model, and that will help you teleport. Although you do teleport down a bit low at eye level sometimes, so just raise the model up if you need to. So that's a great way to navigate around. As I say, it takes a little bit of time just to get used to these new processes. Now anytime, if you hold shift down, that will speed up the orbiting or speed up the panning as well. So that's definitely a good thing to do. Okay, so you can see at the moment I've got Enscape on half my screen, and what I can do with Vectorworks is sort of dock it to the other half of the screen. Normally I run Enscape on the second screen. Okay, so that's tricky to demonstrate to you today for the purposes of this webinar, but you can see what an advantage it would be if I have Vectorworks full screen and Enscape as well. Now, as soon as I turn these layers on in Vectorworks, you can immediately see within a split second, they just immediately turn on in Enscape. So as soon as I make any changes to the modelling, those changes immediately go through to Enscape. Okay, but if you would like to synchronize the view, all you need to do is pop up to the mode bar, turn on the Synchronize View button, and that means that now any views I have in Vectorworks will be the views that you'll see over on the other side of the screen. So what's really nice about this, I'm very comfortable with navigating around in Vectorworks. It's, my CAD software I've used for a long time. So I can navigate around using my familiar tools, doing my design studies, and essentially as soon as I move, that will immediately update in Enscape for me. So in the Vectorworks side, you can see, if I look at comparison, I've just got my basic shading on with some edges. Okay, and the only other thing I've got is some shadows, although they're not featuring at the moment because I've turned the heliodons off. And actually I don't really need the heliodons on for the Enscape model to work because it has its own sort of sun and atmosphere system, and you can see that already. So don't worry too much about the heliodons from Vectorworks, just turn those off when you're looking at your Enscape view. Okay, so anytime I can just flick into full screen mode and look at the real-time rendering sort of level of quality and things like the lighting in Enscape compared to Vectorworks. I mean, it's just, you know, significantly more realistic. The lighting and the global illumination are fantastic. One of my favourite features is to hold the Shift key down and the right click of the button just to be able to scroll very smoothly through the different times of the day. And as long as you set your model up with True North, this should be pretty accurate in terms of location and lighting and so on as well. So you can kind of explain to the client why you specified these overhangs for the solar shading and really kind of justify part of the design. And maybe, explain why you've actually got these sort of lovely overhangs on the bedroom wings as well, so you don't get too much sun at certain times of the day. So really, really fantastic. And if you look at the quality of that lighting and the shadows, it's just unsurpassed, absolutely amazing. So you would never quite get this in Vectorworks. These would be renders that would take, a fairly long time using final quality. Now, the biggest benefit for me of Enscape, I think, is the fact that it's so instant. I can basically design in Vectorworks while I visualize in Enscape. So what I've done here is I've selected my doors. I'm just going to go and change those doors to a single swing door. So as soon as my parametric door updates, you can see immediately in Enscape I can get a visual of what that would look like as a single door. Let's just take it back to sliding, and this time I'll just try 3 panels just to see what that looks like. So it's a very, very useful design tool. It's instantly sort of visualized as soon as you make changes in your design model. So unlike other software where you have to do exporting and re-importing to your renderer, the real beauty of Enscape is it sits alongside your CAD and BIM software as a sort of partner, really. So I'm just going to do this change one more time. I'm going to select these doors here and essentially see if I can make a quick change onto those. So we'll go over and rather than 3 panel, we'll just swap those out to be 2 panel doors and see how that looks. Immediately can preview that over on my right hand side in Enscape and Vectorworks. That looks great. I'm really happy with that. So I think it's an amazing tool. And, if it improves your design and gets a much better design, then why wouldn't you use it in terms of the speed it can give you? So it's a really important tool in my armory for lots of things, the sun shadow studies, the materials, the realistic lighting, but also this nice ability to change side by side. Okay, so another thing that I want to show you, if I've got the synchronize on, which I have at the moment, we can't actually view in all the different modes that Enscape offers. So if you turn off the view synchronization, what you can actually do is put it into single point perspective or 2 point, and you can change between the two. So this gives you really nice sort of perspective correction. If you look at all the verticals, here they are in perspective mode. They're a little bit kind of leaning in and leaning out. If we go to 2 point perspective, you'll see that all the verticals will be basically looking completely vertical. Here we go. Let's put it into 2 point. Can look a bit strange in some views, so just be careful with the view choice. But if you get it right, it looks absolutely amazing. Very sort of architectural photograph. Finally, I really, really like the orthographics. So these are some of my favourite types of views to do in Vectorworks, and I've been doing OpenGL renders of these. But the quality of the rendering that you get from Enscape for these views is stunning. So when you're ready, all you need to do is perhaps pop up into the visual settings and have a little check what's going on in here before you do the export. So if I go to my output, I can basically choose the resolution. Now, I normally render at 4K because it's so fast. You could render it at full HD if you don't need 4K. The other thing that you should probably do is just sort of remember that you can actually render bigger than that, but there's no point in delaying your renders even more. So 4K is probably enough. Okay, so I'm going to just select the path so that I can actually export my project, if you like, some renders. I'm going to create a new little folder here. Let's just call this Enscape. Okay, so have a quick review. We've set the resolution, we've set where the images are saving to, and we've done a few sort of checks in the settings. There's a few more settings I'll come back to later. If we would like to, we can put the safe frame on, and basically that will show us the true proportions of the image, so that's worth having a look at as well. So when I'm ready, all I need to do to create the image is just click a single button to start the exporting process, and you see in a blink of an eye, it's so fast. That's the beauty, it renders out that image. So I'm going to swing through the lighting again. I'm just going to render another little image of the same type of view. And that's the beauty, really. You can kind of just keep changing the image very easily, changing the lighting, and just render as many as you would like. You don't need to worry about the render time. It's just not an issue. And that is a real freedom to behold. So the ability to basically produce as many images as you would like using Enscape and Vectorworks is something that I think is a very, very nice part of my workflow. Okay, good. So we've gone back to Vectorworks now, and I've simply turned on the site so that you can get a bit of context coming into the project. It looks a lot nicer, to be fair, a bit less sort of diagrammatic now. Now, one thing I would like to do is basically add a bit more detail to the site. So what I'm going to do is go back to Vectorworks, go full screen, and go to the Enscape Asset Library. And when I click this, it loads in the assets, and you'll see we've got a really nice range of assets in this browser that pops up. So the Enscape Asset Library is really interesting, and you'll see how this works in a second if you've not seen this before. It's categorized, so we can open up the different categories. What I'm going to do is go for some vegetation, I think, to begin with. Okay, so we've got some vegetation here. We'll scroll down. You see the vast sort of variety of plants and trees and things. There's a really good library here. You can actually add to this as well, but we haven't quite got time for that in today's webinar. There's some other webinars available that will show you how to do that. I'm going to go through and choose this one here, zoom in a bit here, and basically let's drop that down. Just before I do it, actually, I'll change to the correct layer, the context layer. All I need to do then, double click, just like inserting a regular Vectorworks symbol, and that will basically insert my Enscape asset. And you can see them being placed wherever I click. Now, you'll notice that the Enscape assets are pretty basic in Vectorworks, and in a way, this is the whole idea. These are what they call proxy models. And the benefit of proxy models is they're very low polygon in Vectorworks. It means that they really don't add much file size or slow your file down in any way at all. You can really load it up with a lot of them. And what happens is, in a minute you'll see, when we go to Enscape, you'll see that they actually get immediately converted or translated into very high resolution objects. So this is the idea of proxies. Low resolution in your CAD software for the obvious benefits that brings, and really high quality, high resolution assets that will be visualized in Enscape as you go through. Now I think that's a really unique feature. So it's a brilliant way to keep your model clean and basically work with very high resolution assets. Let's just add a few more. Okay, so we'll just go back to the library. Once you've loaded it in, it's pretty quick to access, and we'll just kind of scroll through and add a few more items here. Brilliant, so we've added a few new items to our model using the Enscape Asset Library. Basically just going to go in and synchronize my view one more time, and now what we can do is actually use my saved views in Vectorworks to actually access my Enscape views. So all I need to do then is go to my Save View panel, and I just want to show you that in this particular project I've already got a few here. And I like to use Save Views in Vectorworks to do what I call kind of storytelling, a bit like a mood board really, where you kind of tell the story of the approach. For example, show the client how you kind of move down. You can discuss the various items and the architecture as you do this. You can even then start to go inside the building, go to the front door, and then into the sort of living space, for example. Now the beauty of having Enscape at the same time is of course the quality of the lighting and this ability to basically scroll through the time of the day and look at that lovely lighting as we do that. Absolutely beautiful. So you're never going to get this in Vectorworks really with the rendering that we have currently. Vectorworks does great renders, don't get me wrong, but having a real-time renderer bolted onto the side, which synchronizes with both your views and your modeling changes, is a real game changer for sure. So I can't resist. I've got to go into my project and just add a few more props. Let's just add that directly onto that layer, the table. While I'm doing this, you'll notice I've just gone back to the active layer. I'm just going to delete that one, and I think we'll go for something nice just there in the middle. And you can see how low polygon these things are. They're really, really basic representations for the Enscape models. Super basic, but as soon as we get into the renderer, they're such nice quality, very realistic. Look at all the materials and the reflections and things like the shadowing. So yeah, great job. I think this is the unique quality that Enscape offers. It's this ability to have this low resolution library in Vectorworks, but then very high quality models in your rendering software. So I love that. Okay, great. So it's looking quite nice, that view. And you can see all the lighting coming in through the ceiling and so on. So one thing we can also do is pop out the view management panel in Enscape and click create. Now when we do that, basically we can actually create a view both in Enscape that will actually go back the other way to Vectorworks. So it's got this sort of bi-directional link. And this is absolutely fantastic now. So I could review those images directly using this view management panel, but those are actually my Vectorworks views. So if they were redefined or updated in Vectorworks, they would update here too. Now look at that quality of lighting as that sun moves through those trees. Really does give everybody who's viewing the project a very nice experience, and these renders look absolutely stunning. I love the lens flares and those effects as well. So I can't resist sort of doing a few snapshots as I go. It's a bit like being a photographer, you know, you see a nice effect, you try something a bit different, and then you can just take a little snapshot. So I think in a way that is the beauty. The lighting is so gorgeous, and the quality of the rendering, that you can basically explore different aspects of the design that you weren't sure whether it's going to work or not. Now you notice the Vectorworks grass automatically gets translated into Enscape grass, but you've got to be a bit careful. Sometimes the surfaces overlap. So what I tend to do here is I'll just go into my drive and extrude it a little bit more, like 100 mil, and that'll be enough to maybe pop it up above the surface of the Enscape grass so that it's now visible. So those kind of modelling things you'll learn over time. Those are good little tips, and you can see the drive there looking great. Okay, so let's just review a few of the images we've made so far in this section. You can see some really nice quality of lighting, some nice materials and textures, and very realistic sort of lighting effects. So I've done a little bit more work on the model. I've added a few more Enscape trees and plants you'll see, and we can carry on working and show a few new features. So here we go, is the model now developed with some nice new trees. Now I'm zooming in holding the shift key. When I do that, you'll notice that it zooms in much faster. The same with panning and also spinning around and orbiting. So if you just want to go a bit quicker, just remember to hold the shift key down. Otherwise it goes a bit slower and it's a little bit easier to control. And once again, if you hold shift down, click the right button mouse or the U and the I key, you can scroll through those times of the day just to get the lighting perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the other visual settings. Now, you just pop open the visual settings panel, and you'll notice that the first setting here I'm going to show you is the outlines. What this does, it makes it quite graphical, almost a bit more sketch-like in appearance. And personally, I really like this look at the early stage. So I'm going to render one of those images out, and we'll review that one a bit later. But if I zoom right in, you'll notice it's got these nice edges on. Okay, so it makes it kind of very sort of graphical, almost like a drawing rather than a rendering. And I think that's a really nice look, particularly for the early concept stages, where the design maybe isn't quite so finalised, and it gives the impression to the client that this is still a working sort of sketch drawing as well. What you can also do is switch the mode to white mode, and this will give you absolutely gorgeous white card model type look. So let's just swing the lighting around there and look at that. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. It really doesn't look any different from a photograph of the traditional white card model that would take you days and days and cost you a lot of money to produce. So I really like these renders. They're some of my favourite renders for things like early stage kind of massing studies. What I'm going to do is actually just switch over to my Save Views, double click and just have a look at this view, but in the white card mode. Now, we've talked about how the Save Views in Vectorworks correspond with Enscape, and that's a really nice feature. So any Save Views you have will be available. But I would recommend replacing these Vectorworks trees with Enscape trees. So that's something that I'll probably do at some point a bit later on. Let's have a look at the edges now with the white card. So you'll notice that the Vectorworks trees are quite high polygon, so because of that they come out a little bit dark. But basically, if you put the edges on and you're in white card or polystyrol mode, you just get a really nice kind of sketchy feel. And you can animate around in real time. You can, do animations, still images, but the beauty is you can kind of change this lighting at any time as well. So look at that, in terms of a sort of model approach, it looks absolutely fantastic and really, really nice way to present to the client at early stages of design, before you kind of get the discussion focusing in on materials. I love the way those trees sort of wobble in the wind, and really like the realistic lighting that you get. So I really recommend using Enscape for this part of the process, this early stage of design when you're looking at the massing of the building, and basically you don't want the debate to be focusing on what specific materials you're thinking of using yet. Now, as I've said before, I take a lot of screenshots as I go. I think this is a really good thing to do because it's so fast. And if I find a view that I particularly like, I just pop open the view management side and basically just create a new view. And what that does, it automatically creates the save view in Vectorworks, but from Enscape. So I've got those new views saved in Enscape and Vectorworks correspondingly. And that's a really nice little trick. Okay, so what we'll do now, we'll just pop back into our Vectorworks model. Going to do a little bit of design refinement, so just pop back to my Vectorworks design layer. Once again, I've spotted something that I think I can improve. So what I'm going to do is select these two windows. I'm going to go up to Edit, Duplicate Array, and switch the direction there. Put the number of duplicates in, let's say 3, and I think we'll go for, I don't know, like 1500 spacing, something like that. And you can see I've done that change immediately, and I can visualize that now in Enscape straight away. So let's take a look at another really interesting feature, the collaborative annotation feature that Enscape offers. So what we can do, we just go onto this tab, and basically we can create issues, if you like, they're called. And basically this means that we can create some notes in the model. It creates a little screenshot for us, and basically when we're ready we can just click create. So all you do is you highlight various elements of the model. You can see these faces sort of highlighting as you go. Let's just, for example, pick up something over here. Turn it on, let's select that window there, or that wall. And basically all we need to do when we're happy is click create issue, type in a heading, and essentially create a new little issue that we can review with our team. So let's type in the title and the description, and these stay in the model. So when we create those issues, they're basically related to the model here. So at any time we can kind of review those, and you can see you've got different checkboxes for done, in progress, new and removed. So I like that, and you can filter these as well. And it's just a nice little collaborative tool. If you're working with other consultants and you share your model, then they'll receive these and they'll be able to kind of actually, view the issues that you want to flag up and discuss with them. So the next feature I'd like to talk about is animation, and Enscape is absolutely fantastic for producing really rapid, high quality animations. So what we'll do is we'll just skip back to our save views, if you like, and we'll just set up some nice lighting on this particular view, looking at the drive towards the building from the front. When we're ready, we just pop out the video editor panel, which pops out to the side, and it's a very simple panel. All we need to do, if we want to, we can show some grid lines just to kind of help us frame up the view, which I think is nice actually. And then when we're ready, we simply go through and click to add a keyframe. So what we can do is add keyframes either side, but the first one is our first keyframe. We move forward a bit using the keys, the navigation keys, just frame that up, and when we're ready, click plus. Let's go forward a little bit more, just kind of frame up a nice view here, spin round perhaps a little bit, slightly different angle, and again, when we're ready, we will just simply click on the plus sign. Okay, so it's a really short animation with 3 keyframes. We'll rewind and we'll simply play. And there we go. You can see it's already previewing in real time how that's going to look, which is amazing. So this kind of level of quality of animation in real time is what it's all about. And this gives you a huge benefit really over perhaps just the native Vectorworks in terms of realism and other things you can do. Now one of the things I really love is the ability to do time lapses. So if we select a keyframe, all we need to do is basically go to time of day, then we can just simply adjust that time of day. Okay, we can tweak through the hours just to change the lighting. Let's select that last time and just adjust the time again. You can see it changes in real time in front of us. So now when we kind of rewind, let's just rewind there, just play the video again. You'll see you get these lovely sort of time lapses. Now I've done that pretty quick, but I'll slow that down a bit later I think and re-render. So very, very nice thing to do, to play around with the time lapse and the animation. I really recommend you try this in Enscape. It's super quick and super lovely. So I've done a little bit of tweaking on the animation. I've changed the time of day so the time lapse is a bit less fast. And when we preview, you can see you get that lovely lighting effect with the sun setting behind the building. It swings round to the other side, and then you get the lovely sun rising on the building. So when I'm ready, I can simply go to export. Okay, here I get to review the resolution and the frame rates, things like that. But if I'm happy, I can just click export and go for it. I normally do 4K animations. I think they look great, but they will render quite a bit quicker if you just do them normal HD. Let's save those into this folder here. So here's the Enscape exporting video process, and you can kind of see it flicking through the frames as we go. It's actually quite attractive and nice to watch. But in reality, you can go and do some other work, get some emails done or have a cup of coffee. By the time you come back, you'll have a beautiful, stunning animation. So the animation's rendered, let's review it. You'll see I've made a few extra improvements with adding Enscape trees to replace the Vectorworks ones. Got the lighting just right, I like my time lapse with the lighting. And I've got this lovely approach up to the building that I can show the client, how it's going to look. Also, just a little view at the rear here, maybe they're having a little welcome party as well. But look at the quality of all the plants and the trees. And I think Enscape really excels for interior images, that quality of lighting. There's no additional lights here, it's literally just the light from the sun. That's all I've got. I haven't got any interior lighting in the model yet. So I really hope you've enjoyed this webinar and seeing how Vectorworks and Enscape can be used together to develop your designs and present them using beautiful renderings, things like white card models, as well as actually stunning, quite realistic renders and animations as well. It's a wonderful process, it's a really nice design tool to have, and I look forward to hearing from you if I can be of further assistance. So if you'd like to find out more about buying Enscape or training, just visit realtimerendering.com and get the link in the description of this video. Well, thanks for watching everybody, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye.